Alright everybody, last review of the Spring Break Challenge, and as this is coming to a close, we ended with the rebirth of one of gaming's most iconic characters. And I have to say, I think a certain queen needs her crown back. Tomb Raider. Now, as I've done with my other reviews before, I'm going to set up the context of this review of where I'm coming from. Now, I have never played any of the original Tomb Raider games back when it was on the PlayStation 1 or older systems like that. I was about 5 years old when the first Tomb Raider came out, so I just wasn't into games by that point. I didn't get into games until around the N64 came out, and I think I was around 6, 7, maybe 8 years old at the time, and so it was just a little bit before my time in gaming. And even then, as I got older, Tomb Raider just sort of flew over my head and I never really paid much attention to it. So this reboot I'm going into with pretty much zero connection with the past games. Now with that said, what's the setup? Now the story follows a young Lara Croft as she sets out on her first big expedition with some of her companions such as her mentor Roth, her best friend Sam, and along with a few others. And on this expedition she is going into the Dragon's Triangle to find the lost kingdom of Yamatai, as well as find out the origins and solve the mysteries behind its legendary queen Himiko. Unfortunately, the ship is caught in a massive storm and all the crew from the Endurance is trapped on this island, and Lara and the rest of the gang have to find a way to survive on this island, and Lara herself must find a way to become a survivor and become stronger and tougher throughout the course of the game, while at the same time dealing with the local inhabitants and the natural hazards of the environment around her. Now the gameplay in Tomb Raider is actually pretty easy to explain. It is a third-person action-adventure set with stealth mechanics, platforming, puzzle solving, and a little bit of third-person shooting along the way. And it's also set in this open-world-ish environment where you can also, say, backtrack to certain areas and collect certain items to increase your abilities. Throughout the course of the game, you will acquire certain tools and weapons that you will need to either traverse the environment or take out enemies or animals that you may encounter throughout the course of the game, such as an ice axe, machine gun, a pistol, or a bow and arrow. Trust me, you're going to want to use that bow and arrow. It is incredibly handy. You also have separate abilities that you can upgrade yourself, such as Survivor upgrades, Brawler upgrades, and Hunter upgrades, which allow you different elements throughout the course of the game to increase your traversal through the environment or your adaptability to the world around you. You can also find salvage and spare parts throughout the island and on through the enemies, and use those items to increase and upgrade your own weapons to make them better and more useful. Now to move into my pros and cons with the game. What are my cons with this game? Yeah, I got nothing. Alright, so what's good about this game? For one thing, this is hands down one of the best origin stories for a character I think I've ever seen, period, for a video game. Lara herself in this game is so fun to play as, to watch, and you really get an attachment to her. As at first, she is very scared and unsure of herself because she's not a survivor at the beginning. She is not used to being thrown into such an extreme environment or such severe circumstances. But throughout the course of the game, you realize that she is becoming stronger. She's becoming more hard-edged. She realizes what she needs to do and how tough and strong she needs to be in order to protect herself and everyone she cares about. You see a full character arc with her. You see her moments when she's scared, when she's unsure, when she's hardcore, when she is a total tough ass, and when she has an emotional side to her as well. She has a full range of character. And any game that makes you successfully care about something that much throughout the course of, say, a 12 to 15 hour adventure or however you play it is really impressive. And I fully was immersed in Lara Croft's character. I wanted her to become stronger. I wanted to see her grow into a Tomb Raider, or the Tomb Raider that we are all, or most of us, I should say, are familiar with. I myself am not, since I have not played the older games. And the presentation for this game is outstanding. I mean, from all the little details that you can see, like the dirt and grime on Lara's face, to the small little rips and details into like her shirt and her jeans, to the wide open vistas that you can see throughout the course of the game. I mean, this presentation is absolutely beautiful in a very bleak and haunting kind of way. It strikes you with awe and wonder at just how much detail they put into this world. In fact, this is one of those games that I would say I want to play the PC version of this as well and see just how crazy detailed this world is, because I only played the PS3 version. So I just want to see how good this thing could possibly look. I love every little nook and cranny of this game. It's so detailed in what it does. It's just full on great presentation. And the score by Jason Graves fits perfectly for what this game is trying to do, in that it is trying to tell an origin story. It's also trying to be a brutal adventure. It's trying to scare you and try to thrill you at the same time, throwing in elements of suspense and maybe a little bit of horror for trying to scare you. And it just shows you that this adventure is not exactly as cracked up as it is. It's not romanticized, or it's not like lighthearted. It's supposed to be intense, it's brutal, it is absolutely in your face. There were moments in there I was just thinking to myself, this is a pure essence of an adventure. A more brutal adventure in a way. It hits you hard and fast, and it doesn't let you go. It just makes you feel, it adds more and more personality to the world than it already did through its presentation and through its characters. And again, as I've stated before, the soundtrack and the atmosphere of the game is supposed to complement together and mesh perfectly, and that's what this game does. The score is great, and the presentation fits perfectly. There were even certain moments in this game that I completely forgot that I was in control of Lara Croft in. I mean, there are certain moments where There were even certain moments in this game where I completely forgot that I was in control of Lara Croft. I forgot that I was even playing the game. I thought I was in the middle of a cutscene, when in reality, I was making that happen. And mostly that is due to the fact that I don't think once in this entire game I encountered a glitch or a single loading screen. And that just is effective game making right there. I love the fact that with the camera work, and I'm usually not the one of those people that just focuses on, oh wow, look at this certain angle, it's saying so much more, but the way they position the camera, I don't know what Crystal Dynamics did, but props to them. They positioned the camera angle slightly below Laura, or just and ever so at an angle, just to give that sense of like vertigo or emphasis on a certain action set piece just right. And it just made you feel like you were playing through a cinematic, but it never felt like it broke the gameplay. Like it was like, oh, well, I am now in a playable cutscene. Now I'm back in gameplay. It was all perfectly stitched together and seamless, to the point where it was like, I couldn't tell. I really couldn't tell. And there was just no break in immersion whatsoever. I was completely immersed in this world, and I had a blast going through it, while at the same time being crazy scared out of my mind in some aspects. Now, I know a lot of people have been comparing this game to another franchise, and to be honest, I wanted to avoid it mentioning in this review, but I feel like someone's going to be commenting on why I didn't say this in the review, so I might as well just be thorough and ask myself, okay, what do I think of this debate? And that is, what's better, Uncharted or Tomb Raider? In honesty, I love both games, but I don't really try to compare the two together. Uncharted and Tomb Raider, in this current Tomb Raider, I try to see as sort of opposites of each other. Like the Tomb Raider of now is the anti-Uncharted. Uncharted I put more in the same vein of, say, like Indiana Jones, where the adventures are fun and lighthearted and you're having a great time. You know the character's going to make it out okay, and it just feels like you feel like you're having fun watching this. In this Tomb Raider, it feels like it's saying, yes, adventures are fun, but they also beat the everlasting snot out of you. Let me just describe to you the first 5 to 10 minutes of the course of this game. Alright, Lara Croft is on the Endurance ship where she's on, and then all of a sudden, Storm kicks in. Not only does she nearly drown when the ship breaks in half Titanic style, but she is captured by the locals of the island. When she tries to escape, she's nearly impaled by a piece of wood through her side. She has to pull it out by hand, by herself. She has to walk through this cave slowly, trying to survive, and calls through several explosions just to get out. She gets cold, dirty, and wet. And not to mention, by the time that she's trying to get out of the cave itself is trying to collapse in on her. And it's crazy the fact that she can go through all this and still survive. And she's just and already within the first 10 minutes, she's already beaten to hell. And to think that she has several more hours of this to endure is crazy. Feels like the tone of Batman Begins meets the brutal intensity of Die Hard. It just, with Tomb Raider, just on top of that. It all merges so well that I can't really think of a flaw with this game. It's just everything in this game worked. Oh wait, I almost forgot, the villain in this game, Matthias himself, is actually a really interesting villain in that it's not only, he's not exactly one of those like take over the world types. It's more like saying, yes, he is a survivor kind of like Lara is in this situation, except they both just want to get off the island. They're both survivors, but they're both extremes of kind of the same idea, of one doing whatever it takes, including sacrifices those he cares about or those around him for the sake of what he wants, where Lara is trying to protect all she loves and trying to survive at the same time. So it's like they're both survivors in their own way, but extremes, but different extremes of the same idea. So my overall thoughts on Tomb Raider come down to this: a fantastic origin story for Lara Croft, an excellent presentation for the environments itself, from the little details to the big, wide open environments. The camera angles and presentation completely seamless and make it fully immersed in this world. A pitch-perfect score for what this game needed, and it fitted and complemented the personality of the game and the tone very, very well. A villain itself that's a little bit more interesting than what you might suspect, and the fact you also want to experiment with the different weapons in the game. They all feel useful, you can upgrade them, they felt versatile, and they felt adaptable to any situation that you want. Not to mention, the game captures that element of a brutal, sort of realistic adventure of what someone has to suffer through, as well as going through the idea and questioning yourself, how far are you willing to go in order to survive? What are you willing to do? And how determined are you to live? And I feel like this game throws that question out very, very well. And before I forget this, there's a certain moment in this game, I won't describe what it is, but I suspect that older Tomb Raider fans may be aware of this, with a certain element that's presented. And so I wanted this element to be presented throughout the course of the game, and the game kept teasing and teasing this throughout the entirety of the game. And I just felt like this moment needs to happen, or I want this to happen for it to be a complete origin story. And when that moment did happen, I felt so satisfied. And again, I wanted to say what it is. I want to say what this moment is, but I can't do it. I strongly urge you to play Tomb Raider just to see this moment, because it feels so satisfying. And if you pay attention to the storyline, you can already guess what this moment is. And so, again, I'll just leave it at that. So as you can suspect with this rating, I've praised the game throughout the entire review, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Tomb Raider is most definitely worth every penny. So everybody, that is my thoughts on Tomb Raider, and finally, I am done with the Spring Break Challenge. 7 days of a non-stop reviewing marathon. 1 day, 1 review. I managed to do it. I set out the goal I managed to do. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, folks. Trying to write, edit, record, post, and upload every single video within the span of 24 hours is exhausting. But hey, it was worth it. I had a lot of fun doing it. And hey, who knows? If I'm around next year, maybe I can do Spring Break Challenge again. Who knows? So, until next time, everybody, I'm Perry the One-Armed Legend. You name it, I can play it. And thank you for watching.